But that's just on building the infrastructure. What really gets me excited is once it's built, what is the product? The product is the compute, the computational capacity.
Mm-hmm.
What does that enable? It enables the formation of new companies and new technologies that are spin-offs of that. And so you get this ripple effect. You're going to see robotics spin-offs. You're going to see medical technology spin-offs, all of which would never be possible without access to that compute at scale.
I see.
And so having that located in Alberta gives us an enormous opportunity to build a massive AI industry. That will be complementary to our world-class research institution, the Alberta Machine Intelligence Institute at the University of Alberta, which has been widely regarded for the last 20 years as one of the top 3 to 5 research institutions in the world for AI.
Wow.
And so we're training some of the best PhDs in data science. So wouldn't it be great if there is the compute that they can access to take their ideas and turn it into companies, turn it into new technologies, create jobs, attract investment, and do it all here in Alberta. That's the vision. That's what I'm trying to accomplish, and
absolutely,
it's a pretty exciting time.
It's a good accessible pathway.
Yeah, absolutely. And just going back to, I'm not sure if you mentioned this already, but one thing that was really impressive was when we first met, you talked about how Alberta.
Well, we first met like 20 years ago.
Wow, sorry.
when we first met again.
Yes. How much, the difference in how much was being invested dollars-wise into Alberta versus what is happening now on a yearly basis. Because I think a lot of, I didn't know that. I think a lot of Albertans and a lot of people don't realize what you're out there doing. And that's super important to realize how many jobs are being created, what kind of, or how it's impact your economy. So
I've been sharing that with a lot of my friends and just people I come in contact with. It's like, look, this is what Alberta is doing. This is what the minister has been doing for technology for Alberta. It is massive. And people literally don't know. Yeah. So let's share.
We still have work to do to tell that story. I think we've made some progress.
Yeah.
But to your point, there's still a lot of folks across Alberta and around the world that don't know the good news about what's happening in Alberta's tech sector. So, what I can tell you is there's never been a better time to be in tech in Alberta than right now. And that momentum is just continuing to pick up. Like I look back to when I started in 2004, there was almost nobody investing in tech in Alberta. Right. There was no stories. And so we were one of just a handful of investor groups looking to invest in commercializing tech in Alberta. And then I look at some of the most recent numbers I have that are official numbers. I think in 2017 there was about $30 million invested into Alberta tech companies.
Right.
And then we formed government in 2019, and we made a few changes in terms of policy and what we're focused on, and now fast forward to, I think 2022 was 729 million.
Wow.
And 2023 was over 700 million. And what's really notable there is between 2022 and 2023, the Canadian venture numbers, like countrywide, were down 30%.
Wow,
and Alberta held steady at over 700
That's
million,
right.
which is the highest it's ever been.
Wow.
So we were bucking the trend.
Yeah.
And then I think the 2024 numbers are going to be right in line with that. They might be, if they're not 700 million, it's only because the largest deal that happened in Alberta, which was Neo Financial, out of their 360 million that they raised, I think it was, 200 plus of that was venture debt, which doesn't count towards the venture capital equity numbers.
Gotcha.
But at the end of the day, that deal, if you look at the total capital invested into Alberta tech companies, we're right up there in that range of possibly a record-setting year. So 3 years running, we're doing better than we've ever done.
Yep.
We have more tech companies than ever before. They're growing faster than ever before. They're raising more money than ever before. And to the earlier point I mentioned about, we used to be really good at creating ideas and then exporting them, and then they get sucked into American companies, or the companies move to America. Now these companies are growing to billion-dollar unicorn status and staying here. They don't have to leave to do that. So we've got 10 or 12 companies now for the first time in my lifetime in Alberta worth over $1 billion that started here from zero, grew to $1 billion, and are continuing to grow. You got companies like Jobber right here in Edmonton. Just raised over $100 million.
Wow.
Doing some amazing things. You've got Neo Financial in Calgary, which was started by the folks that built Skip the Dishes.
Yeah, absolutely.
So they made $250 million or whatever it was on Skip the Dishes, and then they said, what am I going to do now? I mean, I could retire, but I'm I'm young enough that I don't think I want to retire. I want to do something cool.
Yeah.
What's the next industry I want to disrupt? Well, the banking industry, because it's so archaic and the big banks haven't kept up with modern technology. So they said, well, let's go build a modern digital bank. Where's the best place to do it? Let's go to Calgary. Like, that was their first choice.
Very cool.
And so, that has been taking off like crazy. And there's so many more. There's Adabotics, which is a really cool robotics company that's building logistics infrastructure. It's being used in a ton of household name big box retailers and distribution centers all around the world. And that started in Calgary. And so,
awesome.
who knew you could be a robotics expert and have a really exciting future in Alberta? So that's my message to folks is we've got brilliant innovators building really cool technologies and interesting companies. And so whether you want to work for a company or whether you want to start a company, there's a bright future for you in Alberta, and we're just getting started.
That's awesome.
That's wonderful. So I don't have $1 billion company, but I did start.
Everyone starts somewhere.
Everyone starts somewhere, but I did start a clothing company 10 years ago called North Kinder, so hence the backdrop. And so when I first started out, I was selling on Etsy because that was the platform, and I was hand making everything. And then once we grew to have wholesale companies and to have like a stronger e-commerce presence, we did switch over to Shopify. But it was all just kind of, okay, we have this problem. How do we figure it out? How do we grow online in the digital sector? And so I just look at the landscape now compared to 10 years ago. So for a small business like mine that has grown in that space, like what would you recommend for someone starting out today that they should have for their company?
Well, I think
big or small, actually.
I think the major focus right now needs to be how do you harness the power of AI to make your business more successful? I believe that 10 years from now, there's going to be two kinds of businesses. There's going to be those businesses that adapted and started using AI, learning how to use it, learning how to apply it in their businesses. Oh wait, there's only going to be one kind of business. Like that's. I really believe that. But those businesses that do use these tools, and it could be as simple as just using ChatGPT or one of the other, or Grok or one of the other AI models, just to solve problems. Like I've been doing this myself, like in my personal life and in my professional life, and it is saving me so much time. And what that means is that I can spend more of my time on those tasks that only I can do, that I can't outsource. I can't delegate.
Yeah.
There were some things that as a minister, I just can't delegate.
It's
to
for
my
you
staff.
to do. I understand.
I have to be the one to do it. I'm the one elected by the public. I'm the one appointed by the premier to lead this file. And I have to make those decisions. I have to do that work. But for all that other work that could be delegated, sometimes that can be dealt with through some of these AI tools. And so my advice is get out there, start playing with these. Just play with them. Just sort of download the free version of ChatGPT and just ask it some questions. Like let's talk. We're on a podcast right now, so like I was looking into some of this, and I went into ChatGPT. I said, I'm using a Mac laptop. I'm using a Shure microphone like this one. I'm using this audio interface, and I'm using this software. I want to create video podcast content. What advice can you give me on how to configure all of this? Right. And I tell you, like, it saved me hours. I used to spend hours going through YouTube and Google to try and troubleshoot and say, how would I set this up if I want to set up a little a mini film studio on a budget in my basement? It took me weeks, and I was getting nowhere. And then I said, well, let's just give ChatGPT a try. And then within half an hour, I had it up and running. So it doesn't matter what your business is. I think if you learn how to interact with an AI and explain, this is who I am, this is what I'm trying to do, these are the tools I have at my disposal, what advice do you have for me? You'll be shocked at what that can offer to you and help to bring about more productivity.
I think people were, sorry not to cut you off, but I think the thing was people were afraid of AI when it first came out.
That's what I was going to say. I felt intimidated, and there's a lot of things to do when you're starting a company and you have the big vision, but you get trapped into working in your business instead of on your business, which is what a lot of people say. But the intimidation factor, that was huge for me. So
it's knowing what to, I mean, there's so many cool tools coming out, especially now for in the marketing space that we're involved in a lot. There's so many cool different, these marketing gurus are making AI versions, or not of themselves, but basically taking all their information, putting it into a software, and allowing you to pick their brain basically and say, hey, what should I be doing in this scenario? How do I get more sales? How do I get more leads? How do I improve my marketing? And it's so cool. But sometimes people just have to get over that that hurdle of, well, I don't like AI. I don't know. It's kind of weird to me or whatever, right? So.
Yeah, I think, and so it's there's a learning curve for sure, but it's more accessible now than it's ever been. It's, like the free Chat GPT and the free Grok version are so powerful and so good. So you don't even necessarily need the paid version to get enormous productivity gains for your personal life and for your business. So my challenge to folks is just to say, don't be afraid to just play with it, and reach out to your network to say, who's tried this?
Yeah, that's
LinkedIn's
true.
a great resource. I use LinkedIn a lot to keep tabs on what's happening out in the industry in terms of new ways to use technological tools. And so, you could certainly follow me on LinkedIn, and I'm posting all the time about cool new tools and technologies that are coming out of Alberta or that I think are relevant to help make Alberta businesses more successful.
What's your LinkedIn account?
Just at Nate Glubish.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's one place to start. I think, getting plugged in, following the Alberta Machine Intelligence Institute at the University of Alberta, they've got some content that they offer to non-computer science majors to just say like AI for everybody. How does AI work?
Yeah.
How could I use it in a non-computer science application? So there's some examples there that could be helpful, and just start looking for other folks who've been using technology and having success, and say, what could I learn from that? You could even just go into a Chat GPT and say, okay, this is my business. What are some ways that I could use AI to become better at what I do? And you'd be shocked at the ideas that come out of that, and then just have a conversation. I know it might feel a little weird, but I think after you have that conversation on your phone with a Chat GPT and or one of the GPT engines, and just explain, here's what I'm trying to do, here's what I'm good at, here's some of the problems I'm facing, what ideas do you have? You'll be really surprised at how easy it is to get useful information that will save you tons of time and help make you more productive.
No,
that's
awesome.
a great suggestion. Just
that is fantastic.
Telling it, hey, how can you help me?
And then besides that, okay, so just getting back to investing in Alberta and all the opportunity that's coming, what would, if there's a business owner right now or just a person who says, I want to get in on the action, what would you suggest? Again, I know there's, like you mentioned, some of these organizations that are talking about what's up and coming.
Yeah.
What would you suggest? I know that's kind of a tough question to, give specifics to, but maybe give it a shot.
It's a good question. So, look, like I said, there's never been a better time to be in tech in Alberta than now. There's a lot of really exciting things being built here. So there's a lot of opportunity for investors who are interested in investing in tech, but maybe they just haven't dipped their toe in the water yet. Maybe they don't know how to go and find good tech deals.
Yeah.
They don't know how to do due diligence on a tech deal, because it's a lot different than, say, a traditional oil and gas business or a real estate business or a traditional manufacturing business. It's a totally different ballgame.
Yeah.
And so if you're interested in starting to get into the space, what would be some ways to do that? I can offer a bit of advice. I think, first of all, it's just good to get out and start meeting people who are in the tech sector.
Right.
And so there's a couple of good places to get started. There's an organization called Startup TNT.
Yep.
And so Zach and his team over there do some great work. And what they do is they've got some this is like more on the earlier stage side, and they host events like every Thursday night. Yeah. Where tech companies are coming to network, coming to pitch ideas to prospective investors or to each other, and they're getting some mentorship along the way. And then, every now and then they host pitch competitions. And then the best companies that go through the Startup TNT program ultimately are competing for some investors who are in the room who say, well, the best deals, we'll all, 20 of us will all pool $5,000 to do $100,000 seed investment into this company and help you get to that next stage.
Yeah. So actually, I did go to one, actually.
It's pretty fun, right?
It was awesome, actually. The vibe was amazing. And my friend was actually doing a pitch. And so I went to support him, and we had, I know you had mentioned that Startup TNT before, but it was fantastic. It was amazing. Yeah. And like I said, I had a great time.
So that's one place
And to see the other people that are in the room too.
Yeah, and all the great pitches.
Yeah, and the ideas.
There's really great companies coming up. Again, you kind of see what's going on, right?
If you're a little bit more, if your appetite's for a little bit more mature than those really early stages, there's Creative Destruction Labs. There's the CDL Rockies edition based out of Calgary that does some really great work. Similar, where they have, some really interesting companies that come through a bit of a mentorship process,
right?
But they're convening a room of seasoned investors who have their checkbooks ready and are saying, "I'm here because I want to find something to invest in," and they go through this really interesting process where part of the pitches in the early stages are, how many of you investors would be willing to mentor one of these companies?
Oh, cool.
And
Yeah.
spend some of your time to help them as they're working through this process, and then ultimately the ones who move the far. So if no one's willing to mentor a company based on their initial pitch, they kind of get weeded out early.
Yeah.
But if someone's like, no, I have some personal experience and expertise or a network in the area that they're developing a technology, so I could add value to their business. So I'll volunteer my time, I'll help them out, and then if they continue to show progress, eventually they make it to the later stages. And then the ones who make it to the end end up usually getting an investment from the people in the room. So that's a great place to go and network and learn more about what's going on.
Yeah, because and that's big. Mentorship is huge because, like I told you,
we later in the game.
We learned that later in the game, but it was kind of like, when we started out, Etsy was the new tech, and there wasn't a lot of people who really knew what was going on, and Shopify was just coming in. But mentorship, I was telling someone this the other day, when it comes to mentorship and starting a business or starting a company, it's the only thing you do where there's no really training or school. You can't really go to school for actually what you need to, the skills you need to have to start a business. And it's like, if you become a firefighter, you don't just see a burning building, grab an axe and run into the building. You get trained, you get taught what to do, and that's what we think is super important, and we need more of that. But anyways,
the business side, we're just grabbing that axe.
Well, you grab the axe, you run.
I
can do it. Most people don't. I heard 97% of all businesses fail within the first 10 years, and I think that's in the U.S., but I'm sure it's the same for Canada.
Yeah,
because it can be tough out there if you don't really know what you're doing.
So again, if you're someone interested in investing in tech in Alberta and you've never done it before, those are a couple places to start.
Yeah.
A couple other places to start in terms of building your network is in Calgary. You've got Platform Calgary, which is sort of the nucleus of where all of the entrepreneurs and innovators and investors congregate, and they host all kinds of great events to help connect investors and entrepreneurs and even academics to help build more momentum. And then their counterpart in Edmonton would be Edmonton Unlimited. So those are some good places to get on your radar and get out and just meet people and network. Take a look at what all the accelerators are doing and those programs. Maybe I think also then what was it? Oh yeah. So one of the other ones that I'll sort of wrap up on this train of thought on is our universities. U of A and U of C both have an innovation fund. So the innovation fund at the U of A focuses on saying, what are the most interesting technologies coming out of the U of A, and the ones that show the most promise, they'll actually take an equity stake in and invest in it. And usually bringing in some other investors with them to help fill out the round. So, and then similarly, there's the U-Seed, I think it's called, at the University of Calgary. They do something similar. So, if you're interested, like getting plugged into those groups and saying, hey, I'm interested in potentially co-investing with you.
Right.
Then at least you're not doing it alone.
Right.
You can say, like, if you're doing a deal, tell me about the deal, and if I like what I see, maybe I'll co-invest with you. So there's a few different ways to get plugged in where you don't have to do it alone. You don't have to be a complete expert. But I think one of the key things that folks need to keep in mind is when you're investing in tech, you have to take a portfolio approach. I've seen this as a VC myself. Our rule of thumb as a fund was, out of 10 investments, you'll be lucky if one of them is a home run. And by home run, we would call it 10 times your investment when you sell. And that home run makes or breaks your fund. And then you would get maybe one or two second or third base hits where you're getting maybe 2 times, 3 times your money. You'll get a handful of first base hits where you just get your money back and that's still a win, because not all the companies. And then the question is, how many of your companies go to zero? And some of them will.
Yeah.
That's why you need a portfolio-based approach. So it's important for folks to say, if you're going to dip your toe in the water, don't, whatever you're willing to invest, whether it's $25,000 or $250,000, or maybe you're willing to invest millions of dollars, don't put it all in one place. Because I've heard so many stories of folks who said, well, I'm going to start investing in tech. My friend told me this guy's really smart, so I'll just invest. And they didn't do any due diligence. They didn't do anything. And they invested in one thing, and it went to zero. And they said, oh, tech is terrible. You can't make money in tech. I'm never going to invest in tech again. And those stories are heartbreaking, because it's not true. You can make enormous returns in tech, but you have to be smart. You have to follow a tried and true process that includes a portfolio-based approach. So I think building a network with people who do it already, building a network with people who are building tech companies and learning about, like looking at, like I know when I was in the venture business, in 1 year I'd look at 200 companies, and then I would maybe in that 1 year I would look at 200 companies, and then I would probably spend a meaningful amount of time with 20 to 30 of them, and then I might make a non-binding offer to 10 of them, and then get into some negotiations, and then ultimately maybe transact on between 4 and 6 companies in a year. So, you can't just look at 1 or 2 companies and say, I found the one. You need to look at a lot of companies. So whether you're looking at those companies yourself, or whether you're partnering with seasoned angel investors or VC investors, there's lots of ways to dip your toe in the water. You can do it, and Alberta's a great place to do it. There's a lot of really exciting stuff happening. Best place to get started is just go out and meet people and start talking about tech with people who are out there doing it themselves. Yeah,
I love it. And we're coming down to, I know we're kind of getting a little bit long on time, but are we going to wrap up with this question, or do you want to go straight to the rapid fire?
Maybe rapid fire.
Okay, we're going to go straight to rapid fire. Okay.
Just freeze up, no?
No, I think we're good. So
Let's get to know you a little bit on a personal level here. Rapid fire, iPhone or Android?
iPhone.
Coffee or tea?
Neither.
Oh my goodness.
Coca-Cola.
All right. Okay. I get up early or stay up late?
Stay up late for sure.
Okay. One thing you can't live without. Not so rapid fire.
You got to say your wife in this.
I know. I mean, like I was going to say the sappy answer is my wife and son.
Okay, so without.
Well, I think what I'm finding even just recently is so much value from ChatGPT that I think from now on this is going to be something I use every day.
Perfect.
Cool. Awesome.
Comfort food.
Oh, I always love a good burger.
All right, Alberta. Right, you're an Alberta boy. That's right. If you could meet one person that is alive right now, who would you meet? You guys could have this. That could be the same answer. Would that be your answer?
It wouldn't be my answer, but I do love you too.
I think a lot. And look, the reason is I'm a hobby musician.
Yeah.
U2 is a big inspiration to me, but I also love the fact that U2 as a band has stayed together since the beginning.
Yeah, they've been. Cool.
They've never had internal drama and squabbles.
Yeah.
They've written some amazing, insightful music, but also they've gone on to become investors in technology companies. They've got their own fund.
Absolutely.
And I would just love to pick Bono's brain on what's his process for songwriting, what kinds of things is he excited about investing in, and I just think he'd be a fascinating person to meet.
Okay, I have another rapid fire.
You would go with the edge. You would go with the edge, though. I feel like this is very serendipitous.
I have one more rapid fire that we didn't talk about. Did you buy Trump coin yet?
No. I'm not a fan of a lot of these meme coins. I think that's a great way to lose your money. That's my personal thought.
That's good to go. It's good. It's all good. Okay, well, thank you so much for being on the podcast. What else? I mean, again, follow Nate on LinkedIn for sure.
Yeah, where else
I
can
follow
we...
it. It's amazing. There's really good insights there. No,
where else can we follow along?
Yeah, so I have a Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn right now, and they're all just at Nate Glubish.
Great.
I'll be starting a YouTube channel soon where I'll be posting more content about Alberta's tech sector, as well as just the local current events through the lens of a minister in the Alberta government's perspective, someone who's like in the thick of things. So if that's something that would be of interest to your viewers, stay tuned for that. Those are some of the best ways to keep in touch.
Perfect.
That is awesome. And then,
do we want to say anything about our...
Oh, yeah. So, keep following along with us here. Again, we're on a kind of you've known North Kinder as a clothing company, which is awesome. But obviously, more to that behind the scenes, we've had to learn a lot about running a business and technology and just all the different challenges that come
Marketing,
with
especially.
marketing, all the things you have to do to keep your business going, because we have a real desire to see, especially not just local and Alberta and Canadian businesses doing well, but just, people in business who, like us, kind of started off maybe doing it alone and just didn't have the resources that we'd love to have. So follow along. We're going to try and help you guys as best as we can and put out some, again, helpful resources, have great guests on that'll really help you have the edge. And yeah, it's amazing.
You can go to northkinder.com and sign up to our email list so we can keep in contact with you that way. And yeah, we're just so thankful to have our friend the minister. I love
Amazing.
that.
Thanks for having me.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you.